This is the Hohem iSteady MT3 Pro Kit. This is a motorized gimbal kit that comes with everything you need to hook it up to your favorite mirrorless camera, smartphone, or action camera. And being that action cameras have such great stabilization, I didn't test that. You don't really need a gimbal for action cameras, at least not with GoPro or any of the DJI stuff. So I've only tested this with mirrorless cameras, and it also comes with a smartphone accessory, which we'll talk about later. But if you're looking for a professional gimbal that will tick the box for both stabilization, portability, and battery life, and all those kind of things, this is a great choice. But I also own the DJI RS4 over here, which is one of my favorite gimbals, and it offers a different experience to the MT3 Pro. So not only will I be reviewing this today, but I'm also going to talk about how it compares with some direct comparisons up against the RS4, because there's a lot to like about both of these, but they're kind of suited to a different audience. I think that's important to talk about. Over the last month, I've been testing this out with a range of different cameras and lenses, and I want to see how well it would handle some tighter focal lengths. It's easier to get great results with like an 18 or 20mm lens, but how does it work when you're using like a 50 or a 75mm lens, or a cine lens like this Sirui? So that's what I've tested in this video. This will stress test the stabilization to the maximum. So that's what I'll be showcasing in this video. If you are using wide lenses, yes, I've tested it with an 18mm and it looks fine. Let's cover stabilization. If you're using the Hohem MT3 Pro in any situation where you're indoors or outside and it's not blowing a gale, it will do a really great job. All of the test samples in the car looked really sturdy. Now, if you've ever been to Melbourne, Australia, you know how bad the roads are. I was bouncing around in the back with this, and I was able to get some really nice cinematic looking footage with very little effort. So it's great in control conditions. All of the gym footage looked great, and I can't fault it at all in terms of how it performed there. The only time I did notice a little bit of micro jitters was when I compared it against the RS4 outside on a really windy day. Now, unless that's how you're going to be shooting, then get a higher capacity gimbal or something with larger motors and a larger frame. It will handle those situations a little bit better. But the MT3 Pro did a really great job, and there's very little difference in the footage at the end of the day. At the time of producing this video, you can buy this gimbal in 3 different configurations. There's a $599 option, a $799, and a $969 full kit, which is this one. It came with a bag with all of the optional accessories. Now, the difference between them is the first one's got human tracking, the second one's got human and also object tracking, and this one does everything. I'll talk about the AI tracking in just a moment, because if you've already been using gimbals, you might not need it. If you get new to shooting though, it may come in handy, but we'll get to that in just a sec. Hohem have added a few upgrades from the prior MT2, including a new 2.5 kilograms maximum payload. And what this allows you to do is to mount a heavier rig on there and still have plenty of headroom. I never came close to getting to that 2.5 kilogram maximum. Even with my GH7 rocking the 10 to 25mm f1.7 zoom lens, it weighs like 1.6 kilograms. So I've got like 900 grams spare. If I needed to mount some additional accessories, I could do so. We get a remote screen, and this is one of the best things about this gimbal. It gives you a live feed directly out of the gimbal. This little AI tracker is also a little camera, and it works up to 10 meters or 33 feet. And I tested this in the field, and as long as you've got true line of sight, that distance is accurate. This allows you to use full control on the gimbal like this, or I can use gimbal control as well. So if you just want to say set a shot up and you're on your own, you can use the joystick at a distance, make sure you're framed correctly just by using this, and you're in business. It's really cool. Now, what you see on the screen isn't representative of the focal length that you're using on your camera. So just keep that in mind, but it's a really good live preview. Where I found this really helpful was when I was dangling my arm out the car, shooting a shot of the car driving along a dirt road. I could frame it using this and then just have one hand holding the gimbal. So this is where this comes in really handy. Depending on how hard you press the joystick will depend on how fast the gimbal moves when using the remote joystick. I really love this feature. So you can sort of hard pan it if you want to go fast, or you can do nice slow pans. This might come in handy if you've got this mounted up high on a tripod. You can just fully control it for a live show using this. All right, let's talk about the AI tracking, because this has been a bit of a mixed bag. I had nothing but problems with it for the first few weeks. Every time I would go to do the OK gesture for it to track me like this, it would either do nothing or it would off-center me in the frame. I've just recently recalibrated this through the phone app, and while that worked and it gave me proper framing several times, eventually it just seems to go out again, and I'll need to get the phone app out and fix it again. Now, I worked with Hohem to try to get this to work better for my particular situation, but yeah, I wouldn't really use this personally, or I wouldn't rely on it personally. Interestingly enough, while the OK and the stop gestures seem to work fine, it just sometimes doesn't always frame you in the correct spot. It looks like it's done an okay job now, which is good. So it has framed me in the right spot, but yeah, it's a little bit hit and miss. So if you do have the same problem as I've had with this, just use the app, go through the configuration and recalibrate the AI, and then it will definitely do a better job. But if you're an experienced gimbal operator, the only mode I would really recommend using is the orbit mode, where you can sort of tap on a subject, hold the gimbal, and then it will keep that object tracked as you go around it. It's a really cool feature, again, if you're new to using gimbals. If you've got experience with it, you probably won't need all of this stuff. But for beginners, if you get this calibrated right, it does actually work, which is cool. And odds are I've shown you some examples of it already on screen. Right below the AI tracker, we've got this built-in LED light, and this is really handy for just adding a little bit of light to your subject as a fill. Now, to turn it on, you can either go through the LED panel to turn it on, or you can just hold this button in the center of the multi-function wheel until it comes on. And there you go, it's on, which is cool. Now, you've got full control over the colors. We're currently at 5500 Kelvin, but the warmest it will go is 2700 Kelvin, and we can take it all the way up to 6500, which is the cool side. Now, just by tapping down on the option under it, the gamut, we can change it into RGB. So say you're shooting at night and you want a weird or different color to fill the shot, you can do that, for example, or in the daytime, it's up to you. But you get all of these different hues here. It goes from like 1 to 360 degrees. It's pretty cool. You can change the brightness and intensity of the color that you choose, or the CCT color, which is the standard light range. So yeah, it's very functional. To turn it off, just hold it down again and you're done. Let's talk about the handling and user experience of this gimbal and how it stacks up against the RS4. So one of the things I really liked about it was the fact it's nice and steady. Once I have everything mounted, the feet are great. I could just plonk it down on the floor at the gym, for example, and know it's not going to fall over, which is unreal. So it's very sturdy. I also really like the fact that we get this additional arm. Now, the pro and con of this is it can only go on the right-hand side, which I think will suit most people. Now, as a lefty, I was a bit worried that this wouldn't feel good to use, but it does. So even if I'm holding this with my right hand, holding this with my left hand, or doing the opposite for a low to the ground shot, this is centered, and I really can appreciate that. It's not off to one side, or it doesn't make you work in an uncomfortable position. It's all nice and ergonomic. If you are doing a lot of low to the ground shots, you can have this handle wherever you like and lock it off. It's got some nice little teeth there that locks it into place, nice and sturdy, and you won't have any problems using it in this configuration whatsoever. Now, this multi-function wheel is another benefit. You can set it up to do a whole range of different things, including focus, tilt, roll, pan, CCT, and RGB. I've got it currently set to tilt, so as I move this, it's going to go up and down. Now, some more experienced gimbal operators won't need this, but I like to work in pan follow mode, which means it's going to basically be locked off on this axis. As I bring it down, it's still going to remain forward. If you want to use pan tilt follow mode, you might not need that, but for me, I really like using it like this. If I want to make nice, smooth, sort of cinematic tilts up and down, I can just use the wheel, and it all feels very intuitive. There's a couple of different modes you can run with this gimbal as well. I've currently got it set to smooth, so as I whip it left and right, it's going very slowly. What I can do is go into the smooth option on screen and change it to medium, for example. Have a look at this. So now it's going to be a lot more responsive, and this is where I like to have it set. You can also set it to fast like this as well to do some really quick whip pans, as long as you don't have severe rolling shutter. The biggest difference between these two gimbals is the RS4 doesn't have any of the AI tracking, and if you're not into any of that and you know how to use a gimbal, I still prefer using this. The setup process on this is far easier. Everything just slides around nicely. If I need to make a micro adjustment, it's buttery smooth. I can lock it off. It's got auto locks and everything. It's just such a great gimbal in terms of functionality, which is where this is a little bit frustrating to use. This was the only gimbal I've ever tested where I needed to use some WD-40, which is like a lubricant, to get this particular section in here to move properly. The rest of it feels great. Like if you need to make minor adjustments to the lower section, it's buttery smooth as well. It was just that one section where it's a little bit sticky. I don't know if this is just my sample copy, so just see some other reviews before purchasing if you're worried about that. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on the MT3 Pro and how it compares up against the RS4. Now, the target audience for this is someone who's new to using gimbals, who wants some help when it comes to how to frame your shot using those AI tracking modes. And again, while it wasn't perfect in my user experience, after I recalibrated the AI, it seemed to work a lot better, which is cool. And it's actually kind of fun to watch it run around and sort of track you. It does a really great job. I actually really love the detachable screen. So if I was shooting in a car, for example, or out of a car, or any situation where you sort of blocked your view, that's where this comes in really handy. It gives you a massive advantage over the RS4. Now, I should also point out that the RS4 just feels a lot easier to set up. And if you don't need the AI tracking, that's where I think this really shines. It does have tracking thanks to the autofocus system on cameras. I've got Lumix cameras on the most part, and Sony, but if you're using Lumix, it can use the autofocus information to track if you plug everything in. I showcased that on the video, and it's quite a powerful option to have. I just think that the RS4, while it doesn't have as many options as the MT3 Pro, I still prefer using it, especially if it's going to be in an extreme sort of windy scenario. That's where this will definitely get the win. If you're going to be doing any sort of like really fast automobile stuff or motorbike stuff or whatever, then I would probably trust the RS4 a little bit more in those scenarios. But if you're someone who wants to travel and take a light gimbal with you, or do any sort of indoor filmmaking or gym shoots or anything like that, that's where this will do an excellent job. I love the fact that this is lighter. I didn't really find myself getting that tired even after a full day of shooting with it, which is pretty cool. I was putting it down from time to time. I'd switch arms and use the other handle, but yeah, it's a really pleasant experience. I'm gonna give the stabilization win to the RS4. I'm gonna give the feature win to the MT3 Pro. And in terms of which one I would pick, if I was traveling, I'd take this. If I was shooting something where I wanted the best stabilization and just the easiest setup, I'd take the RS4. I hope this video has been helpful. Drop a thumbs up if you can, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.